Hello everyone, it's Derek here with Get Lost Trails. Thanks for joining me on today's adventure. Today we are in southwest Colorado above Vallecito Reservoir, getting ready to head up the Pine River Trail to Emerald Lake. It's listed as being 20.5 miles or 32.8 kilometers in and out, though as usual I'm sure we can expect it to be a little bit further than that.
It's gonna be an overnight trip for me, the first one I've done all summer. Been kind of wanting to do this, just haven't got around to it, so looking forward to it. It is almost September here. Starting to cool off a little bit, but it should be pretty nice. First several miles of the trail are pretty flat. They do go up, but the elevation gain's pretty gradual. Once you turn off on the spur trail up to Emerald Lake, though, the elevation chart pretty steep. So I'm working my way along Granite Peaks Ranch here. The Pine River is off in the distance there, just past that grove of pine trees. Be a couple miles up along here. We'll be passing along the Granite Peaks Ranch before we get back to the Pine River itself. Some Tibetan bison grazing off in the distance there, also known as yaks. Reaching our first little water crossing here on the Pine River Trail. Really no problem to get across. There's plenty of rocks to step on, it looks like. You could choose the path to get your feet wet, or could walk up here. It's a little muddy in places. It's been pretty wet lately. Fortunately though, the mosquitoes aren't a problem. About 3 miles or 4.8 kilometers in, about an hour and 15 minutes for me with a backpack. Just reaching the end of the Granite Peaks Ranch. Getting back over to the Pine River. It's where the public area starts, so if you're coming up to go fishing, that's about how far you're gonna have to walk in to do that. Pretty popular area to come up for fly fishing. I believe it'd be about another 3 miles or 4.8 kilometers up to where the trail to Emerald Lake intersects the Pine River Trail. Pine River Trail itself continues on up and over, clear up over the Continental Divide, can take you to the Weminuche Trail, Cimarrona Trail. Time to stop and have a little lunch break. It's not really lunch on the clock, but I'm hungry and I have an unrefrigerated ham sandwich. Probably a good time to stop and eat that. Nice place here on the Pine River. Found me a rock to sit on. It is in the direct sun, but luckily not too hot today here. Just have a few more miles really to go today, as far as I'd planned to go anyway. Set up my tent and do a little exploring after that. Really didn't push too big of an agenda today, but that's all right. Here at 3.2 miles, just a little over 5 kilometers, we've reached the boundary of the Weminuche Wilderness. Going to continue up the Pine River Trail here, at least a few more miles where the trail intersects the trail up to Emerald Lake, and set up camp somewhere around there. From there, I'm just going to kind of take the rest of the afternoon to do a little exploring, possibly continue on up the Pine River Trail beyond camp a little bit, and just kind of take it easy and enjoy the afternoon. Coming up to Lake Creek here. This is the outflow from Emerald Lake. Getting pretty close to the intersection for Lake Creek Trail that heads up to Emerald. I look a lot lighter, don't I? I found a nice place to set up my tent, get rid of my pack, just doing a little exploring. We've made it up here to the spur up to Emerald Lake. That's the Lake Creek Trail there off to our left. About 6.7 miles or 10 3/4 kilometers up here. Right at about 3.5 hours. I probably have time to make it up to Emerald Lakes this afternoon, but why rush it, you know? I'm just gonna take this afternoon, chill a little, rest up for tomorrow. The vast majority of the elevation gain on this trail is on the spur up to Emerald Lake. So I'm just gonna hike up there tomorrow, sans my backpack and all my extra gear. Just take a filter water bottle, make a nice light trip up there and back tomorrow. And then I'm either gonna head on back tomorrow afternoon, depending on how my trip up to Emerald goes, or I may spend a second night up here. I haven't decided yet. I do have supplies for 2 nights, whatever I decide to do. It's a little after 5 o'clock here, just preparing some supper. Boiling some water for this delicious spaghetti and meat sauce. You know, I don't get too fancy with my backpacking meals, but this will get me by. Oh, look, the water's already boiling. That is fast. 14 ounces of water is all it takes. Got my boiled water here. 9 minutes. We'll have spaghetti with meat sauce. While I wait on my spaghetti and meat sauce to moisten up here, managed to whittle away the afternoon. I probably got up here a little too early, really. I walked up the Pine River Trail a little ways and it's just kind of much the same. Actually, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I sat around and watched some YouTube out here in this wonderful place, but I had to kill a little time this afternoon. I could have probably started later, got up here later this afternoon, but afternoons are always risky out here in the mountains. You never know what the weather's gonna do. Although it's been beautiful today, the forecast looked good, but I got up here a little early, or I could have came even earlier maybe, and then hiked on up to Emerald and came back and spent the night down here and hiked out in the morning, but it's all right. I'm gonna enjoy my evening here. Well, I found my spaghetti to be sufficiently rehydrated. It's time to eat. Some observant viewer will probably notice this is the old packaging. Wonder how old my spaghetti is. Well, a little over 9 years old, and it's still just fine. The sun has set over the mountains here in the San Juans. About time for me to wrap up my day and head to bed, get rested up, ready for tomorrow. Had a little bit of time this evening to reflect back upon the day's hike up here on the Pine River Trail to the intersection with the Lake Creek Trail. I had 6.75 miles, or about 10.8 kilometers. Pretty easy hike up to this point. It's an additional 4 miles or 6.4 kilometers on up to Emerald Lakes. Planning on doing that tomorrow. Probably could have made it up there today. Realistically, I had a lot of time this afternoon. I just didn't really want to lug my pack up that section of the trail. It's pretty steep. There's a few camping opportunities along that section of the trail, but maybe only a couple. And you also cannot camp directly around Emerald Lakes. So I just decided to set up camp here, hike it on up there tomorrow without all this heavy equipment. Get back down here tomorrow, probably afternoon, and then hike on back out to the trailhead, I think tomorrow afternoon. It's kind of what I'm aiming for. We'll see how it goes. Ended up being a really nice day up here. Didn't get any precipitation, so that was nice. Hopefully tomorrow will hold off too. It looked like a decent forecast when I left this morning, so be sure to stay tuned for the rest of the hike. I'm gonna head to bed. It'll be all one video for you, but tomorrow will be a fresh day for me. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Good morning. It's a little after 8 o'clock here. Just getting started good up the Lake Creek Trail. Should be a nice little hike up here today. Lighten my load up considerably. Although I'm thinking it might have been nice I camped up at the lake. You can't camp right on the lake, but you can camp near the lake. Working up Lake Creek Trail here towards Emerald Lake. Trail does generally kind of follow Lake Creek, but it's a ways above it. Starting up some switchbacks here, pulling away from Lake Creek a little bit. About a mile up the Lake Creek Trail, I did find a small stream running across the trail here. I'm gonna take the opportunity to fill up my water bottle. I really thought we'd be closer to Lake Creek itself for the majority of the hike, but it's pretty inaccessible down the ravine there. So hopefully we'll find an occasional stream to fill the water up on the way up. Might be seasonal, I don't know. It's been raining enough lately that there should be plenty of water running if there's gonna be, so that's good news. We're gonna continue the hike and see how we get along. Trail kind of leveled out there. Coming out into a meadow here. I put this trip off a little bit this season because I'd heard there'd been lots of trees down along the trail. And there are definitely lots of trees down, but it looks like they've come up and cut them, I would say, by this point, because I've only had to walk over one. And I saw several that looked like they were probably fresh cut this year. So that can be a risk early in the season if you're headed up here. A lot of deadfall from the winter. By this late in the season, though, seems to have been resolved. About 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers up the Lake Creek Trail from the intersection with the Pine River Trail there. We finally made it back over to Lake Creek here. Looks like we'll kind of go up along the creek for a little while, and then we're going to start up some switchbacks to make the final approach up to Emerald Lakes. Pretty area for sure up here in the valley. And almost Emerald Lakes. This is taking longer than I expected, so I think I'm pretty glad I didn't bring my backpack, although it might be nice to camp up here. But I haven't really seen much camping, and past this sign, you can't camp around the lake, to the lakes, and half mile above the lakes. You gotta go a half mile above the lakes before you can camp from here. So camping options be kind of limited, although I'm sure there's some. This is a very popular destination for people to come up here and backpack. Can see Emerald Lake off in the distance there. Gonna head on down there and check it out. So the trail does come in quite a ways above the lakes. In the foreground here, that's Little Emerald Lake. Actually, then beyond that, in the background over there is Emerald Lake. Once you can see the lakes from the trail, it's still a little bit of a jaunt on down to them, really, further than I expected it to be, but it's worth it. I finally found a spot where I could get down here. Finally made it down here to Emerald Lakes, right at 12 miles or 19.2 kilometers one way. A little further than expected, but isn't it always? Took me right at 7 hours worth of hiking to get up here. Keep in mind this morning's hike, the 5 miles of that was without my backpack, so I probably made better time than if I would have lugged that clear up here, I'm sure. Really serene up here, very beautiful, absolutely a great hike. I've only seen one other couple on this section of the trail. I did see a few people on the lower trail on Pine River.
I would imagine during the peak season of summer, though, it is a little heavier traffic. It's getting pretty late in the season now. It is almost September here. Beautiful day out though. I'm going to take a minute and have some lunch and then head on back down to my tent and kind of make a decision from there whether I want to spend another night or pack on out. I'm leaning towards probably heading on out. I think I have plenty of time to get back to the trailhead today. It is an in-and-out hike, so I probably won't share too much of the outbound hike with you though. I will update you when I get back to my tent, get back to the trailhead though, and let you know how it's going.
If you're wanting to camp on the Lake Creek Trail, I didn't really see many options between the Pine River Trail and Emerald itself. There's this one area here, looks like it'd be a nice place to set up a tent, but you can't. There's a sign there that says no camping. So there really isn't much or any decent place between the Pine River Trail and Emerald Lakes to camp. Right before you get to Emerald Lakes, there's a kind of a flattish area maybe, but it's all really rough and there's a bunch of beetle kill there and it might be risky. So it looks like if you want to camp up around Emerald, you're gonna have to go above Emerald. So keep it. It's about 2:30, made the decision to go ahead and pack up camp and head on back out. It's a little over 6 miles back to the trailhead from where I was camped. It is gonna make for a long day, but I will be glad to be back to a normal bed tonight. I always enjoy getting out, but I just didn't sleep very well last night. And on top of that, what am I gonna do all afternoon out here? It's 2:30, you know? I might as well work myself out of here, I think. It's not too bad on the Pine River Trail. It's pretty gradual, downhill generally anyway. So I guess we'll see you back at the trailhead in a little bit. Made it back to the Pine River Trailhead, 24 miles or 38.5 kilometers later, about 12.5 hours of hiking overall, probably including a couple lunch breaks and some rest breaks here and there. Definitely glad to be back. Earlier when I said the Pine River Trail is mostly downhill from here, that's a bit of a misnomer. You do lose elevation, but the Pine River Trail is actually pretty varied, pretty rolling. And I didn't notice that so much on the way in, but on the way out, I was getting tired, and I definitely noticed it. But anyway, fun little hike. I wouldn't call it little, but a fun backpacking trip. Not something I normally do that much of, so I'm sure your seasoned backpacker could probably knock that out a little faster than I did. I'm not sure if I'd do that the same way again, if I were to do it again the way I did it, but it makes for a long day out today, and I don't know, maybe I would just go up and camp up above Emerald Lake. I don't know. I'd have to think about it a little, do a little more planning and see what would work. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you did. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of my upcoming adventure videos. Thanks for joining me and have a good day.